All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown, all three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing Jubal Sackett by Louis L'Amour. This is book number 4 in his epic Sackett family saga. I have all the Sackett books here, right here. I will zoom in onto them. That's how I do zoom on my camera. So there's the Sackett family saga right there, some 17 or some odd books. We'll pan through the library here because Louis L'Amour is one of my favorite writers, and I've got all of his books here. I've got like 100 or more of his novels. But the Sackett Saga is probably his big magnum opus. It's what most people love him for. Now, the Sackett Saga, these books, I've reviewed the first 3, and so if you want to watch my book reviews of the first 3 books in the series, Sackett's Land, To the Far Blue Mountains, and The Warrior's Path, if you want to read, or not read, but watch those book reviews before this one, that's okay. Just do it. Just type in my last name, Durfee, and then the title of those books. The reviews will come up. This is book number 4. Now, you don't need to read the series in order necessarily, although it's probably best. They're each standalone novels, but they all do tie into each other. So we're at book 4 number now. And book 4, let's talk about the cover first, because the cover, I love graphic design and cover illustration. Each one of these Sackett books has a great cover illustration by the illustrator Greg Manches. So here we've got the guys on their canoe doing some whitewater river rafting or whatever. But each one of the books has just a great looking cover by Greg Manches. So if you want to get the series, it's just, you can tell it looks nice on the shelf. So this book came out in 1985. Even though there's a chronological order to these novels, Louis L'Amour did not write them in chronological order. 1985, this was the last one that he wrote, I believe. Even though it's number 4 in the series, I think it was the last one that he wrote. And it was his most popular. Probably Jubal Sackett might be one of the most popular Louis L'Amour novels of all time, and there's a lot of them. But a lot of people loved Jubal Sackett when it came out in 85. One of the last books that Louis L'Amour wrote. It's a bigger book, about 400 pages. Most of his books are about 200 pages. Now this one has maps in it. Maps of the East Coast and the Rocky Mountains and a few things like that. So let's talk about, what is the Sackett Saga? What are all these books about? These books get compared a lot to John Jakes' Kent Family Chronicles, where John Jakes had the Kent family start in England and they migrated to the United States, and they participated in the Revolutionary War. They participated in the Civil War through generations, and they eventually made it out west and settled the West. It's the same sort of plot as the Sackett Saga from Louis L'Amour. The Sacketts start in England. In the first 3 or 4 books, they migrate over to the United States, participate in the founding of the United States and the Caribbean and the East Coast, and they eventually make it out west. Whereas most of the books, like the final 12 books in the series, are just them out west, settling the West. That's kind of the gist of the entire saga. Jubal Sackett this is the 4th book, takes place in the 1620s. It starts out on the East Coast, and it moves to the West. It's a big, epic journey that Jubal Sackett takes. Who is Jubal Sackett, though? Well, he's the son of Barnabas Sackett. Barnabas Sackett was the one that started England and moved over to the United States. He had 4 sons in the United States, and the first handful of books are about these 4 sons. We had Kinring was the first son. Brian Sackett, the second son. Brian Sackett left the United States, or the New World, and went back to England, so he's kind of out of the picture. Yance Sackett, who was featured in one of these books up here, he is a fighter, he's got a temper. And now Jubal Sackett, the 4th son, he's the loner. They call him the ghost in the woods. He's the first Sackett to leave sort of the Appalachian Mountains, travel out into the plains, and see the Rocky Mountains, and that's the journey he takes in this book. So we meet him early on in the book, sneaking about the forest. This is why it's kind of like a very Daniel Boone-esque type of story at the beginning. And I think one of the reasons this was such a popular novel is because Jubal Sackett was sort of this loner, sort of this Jack Reacher character of the old 1620s in the Appalachian Mountains. And a lot of men see themselves as Jack Reacher. But back in 1985, there was no Jack Reacher, but a lot of men saw themselves as this Jubal Sackett character that could just kick ass in the mountains. He was very proficient with his trapping and his hunting and his sneaking about the woods and just being an overall competent, masculine dude out in the old Appalachian Mountains and wherever he was adventuring to, because he went all over the East Coast. But we meet him. First scene, we get to see him doing all this cool stuff. And he meets a Native American named Keokata, who is a Kickapoo warrior. And they sort of team up, reluctantly sort of team up, and they travel together throughout this book. And that's what the cover is. You can see they're on this canoe. We got Jubal Sackett and his friend Keokata, the Kickapoo warrior, back here. And they adventure together through this book. And Jubal Sackett just has this urge to explore, to just do anything, which is sort of helped out when he is asked by a Natchez priest to undertake an impossible quest. I'll edit that out. Kind of like Jack Reacher takes impossible quests. He just drifts and does things for people. Well, that's kind of Jubal Sackett. He kind of drifts and does but this impossible quest is to go into the far-seeing lands and seek out a Natchez exploration party and its leader. Well, the leader of this Natchez exploration party is a woman named Ichikomi, I think is how that's said. Ichikomi, I think it is. Now, she eventually will lead her people, but first she must kill her rival, the deadly warrior Kapata. And that's kind of what the quest is. Jubal Sackett and his friend, the Kickapoo warrior, they go on this quest to find these Natchez exploration party and this woman. And that's kind of what happens. And what happens when they find, I'm not going to spoil anything. There may or may not be some love interests here going on. But I will tell you, this is the most action-packed Louis L'Amour novel of all of them. And I think that's another reason why it is probably people's favorite. Just the action is relentless. There's no real big plot. There's no real big plot twists or huge amounts of drama and betrayal and all that. So this is a pretty straightforward quest novel about this extremely competent frontiersman, Jubal Sackett, and his Kickapoo warrior companion as they journey across America, following all of these things, having all these adventures, meeting all these people. It's a very linear story. That's just it. That's what they're doing. And they meet all these, and then they go through so many adventurous situations. And of course, there's the gunfights, although they're musket fights. It's mostly bows and arrows and things like that. It's just great. It's like, I can see why it's one of the most popular. This is a great Louis L'Amour novel. It's one of the Louis L'Amour novels that's going to get a 10 out of 10 from me, because it basically gets a 10 out of 10 from everybody that reads it. You just cannot not like this book.